I got a package today, and inside this box is the MetMo Multi Drive. Essentially what we have here is an over-engineered, beautiful tool. Let's just start by getting this out there. This is a sponsored video by MetMo for me to review this product, but I am going to give you my true thoughts on it, and I don't just like to review products. So we're going to actually use this in some crafting and miniature hobby uses and test it out properly. The team at MetMo sent me out the basic model of the multi-drive, and honestly, I'm already a big fan. This thing feels really like heavy in hand, like it feels like it's got a high quality build, and it's just extra fun with these kinds of tools. So essentially what we have here is a multi-tool. We can take the heads off and replace them with other bits and pieces. The basic kit comes with graphite rods to turn it into a pencil, an etching tip, a couple of different screwdriver attachments, a file, and a scalpel attachment. The kit comes with 5 blades, but they're using a standard size 10A blade, so you can actually get different sizes and types of blades that will fit in this same connection. Here are the sizes I tested out that worked with this kit. I definitely think I'm going to personally get the most use out of the scalpel and the file, as they are super common tools in our crafting hobby. But in saying that, the etching tip is actually going to be pretty handy for me in foam work, and let's be honest, we can never have enough screwdrivers. Compared to a lot of the cheap stuff that I get from the $2 shop just to serve a purpose, this actually feels like it's a really high quality tool, which it is. But we can't just go by how it looks and feels. So what I'm going to do is get some models and a couple of bases, and we're going to put something together today, testing out all the different bits and pieces that this comes with and how I can use them in my hobby. So we're going to play around with some simple foam craft techniques and see how much this tool can help my workflow going forward. First things first, these bases are 3D printed and have some layer lines on the sides. So let's try cleaning them up with that file. I'll tell you what, this is really pointing out the issues with the 3D print. It's nowhere near as even as I had thought. So I've cleaned up the edges and it's not really gotten it super smooth. That's probably more user error than anything, but it's done a really good job of taking off some of the bigger lips and issues that we had around the side of these. The small layer lines will probably disappear with a prime, so honestly, pretty happy with that. Realistically, when I'm going to be using this on 3D prints, it'll be on bigger prints to clean up areas where something's overflowed or caught or left a seam. So I won't be trying to do small edges like this, but it sands away really nicely at the 3D printed PLA material, so that's going to come in super handy. Okay, now it's time to start working with the XPS foam on top of this base. What I'm going to try and do here is make a wooden base, could be used for floorboards or a pirate ship or something along those lines. But for this, I do really like playing around with the XPS foam. So let's test out the multi-drive with some foam work. Now, I basically know what I'm doing, but I'm going to make a rough plan and have a test of these graphite sticks. So with that, I'll sketch out the rough idea of the wooden planks. Now I'm happy with that. I'm going to trace this onto the foam and switch out our head for the scalpel. This cuts like butter. My original piece wasn't super flat, so I'll trim this down, and once again this blade is cutting through beautifully. Now we have it flat enough, I'll switch back to our graphite stick and sketch out our wooden planks onto the foam. And then swap back to our scalpel and start cutting this shape into the design. It's actually wild how much better a good quality scalpel blade does than the cheap stuff that I normally get. These surgical level blades are awesome. Now we have our rough style, we want to widen that gap. Normally I'd use a pen, but in this case I'm going to swap out our head for that etching tool. This is going to be a perfect end for widening up all these gaps we've already made, because we've got a nice sharp end and a good gradual cone that'll spread out all of our cuts but make it nice and clean. Now to add some wood grain, I've gone back to the scalpel and I'm just slicing a whole heap of little cuts into our wooden planks, then going back again to our etching tool and just scratching them in that little bit deeper, especially the ones that I want to show up. Now the detail's looking really nice. We'll widen up some of the gaps on the side, and at this point I decided I wanted it to be a bit thinner. So we went back in with the scalpel and sliced this right down the middle. Having such a nice clean blade really helped here. I managed to slice perfectly through the center of that and give us a nice flat base, bring it down to a bit more of a logical scale for planks of wood. Switching back again to the edging tip, I went around and poked a whole heap of little nail holes into all the edges of our planks of wood to give them that final bit of detail. Leaving us with a really simple but effective base. Now it's time to just glue that down to our 3D print base. It's a little bit bigger than the original design, so I'm going to grab out the scalpel again and trim that right down to match the size of our base, and then just clean up a few of the details. Now for a simple paint job. Firstly, we seal it up with a black paint and Mod Podge mix, let that dry, hit it with some brown, a dry brush with some towel white ochre, some metallics for the nails, a black border, a wash, and some final highlights, leaving us with a really nice base, especially from something just made with XPS foam. Now for another common way that we use tools like this in the hobby, cleaning up miniatures on sprues. And for that, I'm going to be using this Lich from Dungeons and Lasers. If you're a miniature hobbyist, you know that all of these models on sprues have mold lines and those little extra tags where we clip them off from the sprues. So we want to clean these up. So we're going to be using the file and the scalpel for a lot of this. This is very fiddly work, so I want to be really careful with this, but essentially I'm just running around with the blade, carving away any of these little extra lips, then smoothing them out with the file and hitting any of these flat surfaces that need a little bit of cleanup as well. As anyone who's built a sprue model knows, there's always going to be a lot of cleanup, so having a decent tool to do that is just going to lead to a cleaner end result for your model. This worked beautifully. Having a slightly heavier tool in my hand than the cheap stuff that I get from the $2 shop really made a difference when working with those small edges. Using really sharp knives like scalpels can be risky. One little slip and you'll get a decent cut from these things. So having a really sturdy, heavy, quality handle honestly made more of a difference than I realized it would. In addition to that, having the file tip was really handy for some of the rounded off areas or getting along those flat surfaces. It's just another tool that I didn't know I needed, but now that I have it, I'm really happy to have it in my crafting toolkit. And now I definitely want to get the upgrade kit with the different sizes and shapes for the files because I can see a lot of uses for them in the future. So far, the hardest part of this video has been shooting those real close-up macro shots as I was trying to cut the edges, and honestly I completely failed at showing me scraping back the mold lines because holding a mini that still in a very small close-up shot just kept falling out of focus. And this is a perfect segue into MetMo's newest product, the fractal vise. This thing is so cool and I can't wait to get my hands on it. It kind of molds around whatever shape you are trying to hold. So unlike a classic vise that just has two flat ends, this has little like gear things that, look, I'll just show you. I'm going to be redoing my studio again soon and I'm really excited to get one of those fractal vices as a permanent part of my station because I could see a lot of uses for this tool. And if the quality of the build on that is anything like this, it's going to be a really, really nice piece of kit to work with. So after having a good play around with the MetMo Multi Drive, I really love this tool. Like I said, it's got a good weight in hand, it feels like a high quality product, and it does exactly what it needs to do. Go check out their website, they have a whole heap of other stuff as well. All of these tools are like really high precision machine engineered to give us a really satisfying hobbying experience. This tool is almost too good for what I'm using it for, but that's what makes it extra fun. I can feel the quality just in holding and using this tool. After having a play around with it, I'm probably going to get a few more of the accessories for this. So I'm going to get the file kit that has a few more shapes and sizes for different specific use cases. And I'm probably going to grab one of the storage kits. I like the look of the leather one, and then there's another one that has a lot more bits and pieces. Either way, it is such a high quality tool. I want a nice high quality way to keep it. Thanks to MetMo for sending this out for me to have a play around with, and I can't wait to try out the fractal vise as well. If any of you guys are interested, go check out their website. I'll put the links in the description. This tool is awesome, and I highly recommend it if it's within your budget. I know a lot of us don't want to go out spending a whole heap of money on our tools, but sometimes getting something of a high quality just means it's going to last you longer and perform better. I think it's Adam Savage that says, buy the cheap tool first, and when you've used it enough that you break it, go out and buy the high quality one. This is the high quality one. I've gone through enough scalpels and pencils and screwdrivers to realize that I use them a lot. So having something like this in my toolkit is honestly a little bit overdue. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review style video this week and the little bit of crafting that I still managed to sneak in there. Until next time, never stop making stuff.